All right, folks, the 2024 NFL Draft, it's right around the corner. We are 1 week away. And by the time I release this mock draft, we may only be a few days away from the 2024 NFL Draft. And today, I'm going to present to you my mock draft 5.0, which you can find the full 3-round mock draft on our website. Now, today's mock draft is going to be a little bit different. In my recent mock drafts, mock draft 1.0 all the way up to mock draft 4.0, I only covered the top 10 picks of the 2024 NFL Draft. Today, I'm going to go through all 32 picks in the first round. For the record, before we get started, I want to point out that we have 5 quarterbacks going in the first round in this particular mock draft. I've got 8 wide receivers in the first round of this mock draft. I believe it could be anywhere from, we could see as little as 4 or 5 receivers all the way up to this 8 number. We could see maybe even more than that potentially. This is a very deep wide receiver class. I've pointed this out numerous times over and over again, and you're hearing it throughout the media rounds as we continue to move closer and closer to the NFL Draft. Offensive tackle is also a very deep group, very top-heavy group in my opinion. I've got 5 offensive tackles going in round 1. So what I'm going to do, we're going to hop right into this thing. I'm going to go to the unpublished article that you can find on our website, footballscout365.com. By the time you see this video, it should be available. So we're going to dive right into this thing. And again, this is going to be the entire first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. I'm going to go through this. We're going to mock every single pick. And then you can find the additional 2 rounds on our website, footballscout365.com. Now, before we get started with the actual mock draft, I want to let you know, we're not going to be doing any trades in this mock draft. Now, all of my other previous mock drafts, there's been some type of trade going on, teams moving up to get a quarterback. Denver, Minnesota, the Las Vegas Raiders, for example, have all traded up in previous mock drafts. You can check that out. Those things are still valid. Those are all very valid. But today we're going to play it as it lies. We're going to just kind of see how the chips fall in the real NFL Draft. With the number 1 overall pick, we have the Chicago Bears, and I don't believe there's going to be any surprises in this particular draft. There was speculation early on, obviously, that the Bears might trade out of this spot, collect a ton of additional draft capital. But at the end of the day, it's looking like it will absolutely be Caleb Williams. It's like 99.9% positivity at this point. Caleb Williams will be the next quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Will he be the first quarterback ever to throw 30 touchdown passes in a Bears uniform? It's hard to believe that no quarterback prior has ever thrown more than 30 touchdown passes for the Chicago Bears. But that is the future of the franchise. You are going to pair him with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, and we'll kind of see what the Bears do with that 9th overall pick. Maybe they add a wide receiver. They do need an edge rusher. They do potentially need to add maybe another offensive lineman in this particular draft class. I honestly believe in past mock drafts that adding a defensive back makes a ton of sense. But at the end of the day, the number 1 pick, it's Caleb Williams. Now with the number 2 overall pick in the draft, I've got the Washington Commanders. They're going to choose quarterback Jayden Daniels out of LSU. This is kind of a consensus thing starting to happen more and more. For a long time, it was Drake Maye potentially going number 2 overall. I have mocked J.J. McCarthy going number 2 overall to the Commanders. But at the end of the day, it makes a lot of sense for Jayden Daniels, who's kind of like that Kyler Murray-esque style player. So at the end of the day, I think he's a perfect fit for the Washington Commanders, paired with their new offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, moving forward. Now with the number 3 overall pick, this is the one area of the NFL Draft that I think this could be a trade candidate. This could be a team that does stick in here and actually draft a quarterback in this particular spot. In past mock drafts, I've had the Patriots trade out of that number 3 spot with another team like the Denver Broncos or the Las Vegas Raiders, and eventually taking Michael Penix Jr., for example. I do have the New England Patriots in this particular mock draft. They are going to choose Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy with the number 3 overall pick. Unless they trade out of this spot in the real NFL Draft, I feel like this would be the best or safest pick for the New England Patriots. Now, before everybody dives on me and says, oh, this is a huge mistake, J.J. McCarthy's not even worth a top 5 pick. We've been hearing it for months. I've been one of the biggest advocates for J.J. McCarthy in this particular draft cycle since the very beginning. And I wholeheartedly believe that he is the second best quarterback in this particular draft class. And the main reason is the fact that this guy, he takes care of the football, number 1. He can be a game manager when he's asked to, and he can be a game changer when needed. And he's got good athleticism at the end of the day. This is a guy that, in my opinion, playing under Jim Harbaugh, developed in a very positive way year over year, consistently, something that Drake Maye did not do from 2022 going into 2023. Drake Maye did not take that next step at the quarterback position. That's not to say Drake Maye can't get there. He has all the tools. He is definitely one of the top quarterback prospects in this class. I believe he ultimately will end up going top 5 at the end of the day. But in this particular mock draft, it's JJ McCarthy going to the New England Patriots with the number 3 overall pick. Now with the number 4 overall pick, I'm going to be a little bit more with the consensus here. Over the last several months, it's been Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State, and I'm going to continue with that consensus, and it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. coming from Ohio State to revamp this Arizona Cardinals wide receiver core. I believe pairing him with Kyler Murray, it's a perfect match, a match made in heaven. Kyler Murray, super accurate quarterback, especially when he's on the move and creating. I think pairing him with Marvin Harrison Jr. just makes this offense a much more complete offense at the end of the day. You're getting a surefire, hands down, all-pro type of future wide receiver at the position, and he's my top outside wide receiver. You can check out those videos as well. I broke down all the wide receivers by outside receiver, slot receiver, and the versatile dynamic receivers that can move around the formation in all 3 ways. This is a very deep wide receiver class, as I already mentioned. Marvin Harrison Jr., he ranks at the top of this class with Rome Odunze, by the way. Now with the number 5 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, I've got Rome Odunze going to the LA Chargers. I know Jim Harbaugh, he's been, talking about drafting potentially an offensive lineman. There's been a lot of discussion about the Chargers trading back. I've got him in previous mock drafts, trading out of this 5 spot back to, 11, 12, or even pick 13 and taking an offensive tackle. I think that Rome Odunze, being one of my top players graded in this particular draft class, having no weaknesses that you can really find on his tape, being an excellent contested catch savant out there on the football field. I think he'd be the excellent binky for Justin Herbert, especially in those key 3rd down moments when you need a play. Who did Michael Penix lean on if you go watch the tape? It was Rome Odunze in those key situations. He would find him, he'd put the ball within the catch radius of Rome Odunze, and he would come up and make big play after big play for the Washington Huskies. So that is who I have the Chargers taking ultimately at number 5 overall. Now with the number 6 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, I've got the New York Giants. If they don't trade out of this spot, I've got them taking Malik Neighbors, number 6 overall, the wide receiver out of LSU. There's a lot of people out there that believe that the Giants are going to try to maybe even reset at the quarterback position in this spot if one were to fall to them. I know I had seen a mock draft recently where the Giants actually tried to trade up into the top 5, I think, to pick 4, and they ended up drafting JJ McCarthy at the end of the day. I think that there was a lot of speculation early on that the Giants were interested or very interested during the combine process in JJ McCarthy. That's quieted just a little bit, but I feel like there's still a little bit of interest there, maybe in drafting a quarterback. And with Drake Maye still on the board right now, it makes this a little bit interesting. But I'm going with Malik Neighbors at wide receiver. I'm going to give Daniel Jones a shot with an elite level wide receiver, a talented wide receiver, the number 3 wide receiver on my draft board in Malik Neighbors. And after the catch savant, by the way, this dude, get the ball in his hands and let him do work. He would be the most talented wide receiver that the Giants have had since Odell Beckham Jr. Now with the number 7 overall pick, the Tennessee Titans, they're going to continue to build around Will Levis at quarterback. And I believe that the perfect match for the Tennessee Titans in this particular draft class is going to be Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. You're going to solidify your offensive line out of the gate. You're going to continue to build this thing around your young quarterback, Will Levis, and we're going to kind of see how this thing rides out. I think you're getting a 10-year player basically at the position. You're getting a potential all-pro guy for a long period of time to solidify that offensive line, and that's absolutely what you need at the NFL level, especially when you have a young quarterback still in the developmental stages of his career. Now with the number 8 overall pick, it's a little bit consensus like the number 7 pick with the Titans here. And I'm going to go with Dallas Turner out of Alabama, the edge rusher, going to the Atlanta Falcons at number 8 overall. And my belief here is they're going to either go corner or edge rusher in this particular spot. You've got a lot of options right here. I do think Dallas Turner is one of the most talented defenders in this draft class, if not the most talented defender in this draft class. He's super versatile, and it's a guy that can ultimately be that linchpin on defense to really turn things around and get the Atlanta Falcons back on track on the defensive side of the football. They're already doing really well on the offensive side of the football, obviously adding Kirk Cousins at quarterback. You've got Drake London over there already at receiver. You added Darnell Mooney into your wide receiver core. Adding a guy like Dallas Turner to the defense can help that defense really get to the next level. Now with the number 9 overall pick, we're not trading, remember, and we still have a quarterback on the board. So this is a potential trade candidate, the Chicago Bears, who absolutely need to pick up additional draft capital at the end of the day. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for them to trade out. But for the sake of this particular mock draft, we're staying put at pick number 9. And if that is the case, the Chicago Bears, they're going to choose Jared Verse out of Florida State, the edge rusher. You're going to get a versatile, dynamic edge rusher, somebody who can really set the edge versus the run, get after the quarterback as needed. This is what the Chicago Bears need. Now you have the quarterback on the offensive side. You've got Jared Verse on the defensive side. You're kind of feeling like the Bears are doing a little bit of what the Houston Texans did a year ago with their first 2 picks in the top 10. I think you're seeing that with the Chicago Bears potentially. I feel like that's a good place for them to go. I can also see the Chicago Bears going defensive back here. You could go any number of the top cornerbacks out there in a pass-heavy league, and that would be a tremendous pickup for them. And that's why I believe they could trade out of this spot, and they could still get an edge rusher if needed. Leatu Latu could be out there. Jared Verse is not even projected to be a top 10 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. But if the Bears are to stay put, their biggest need is edge rusher in this particular spot. I think that's the route that they're going to end up going, whether they trade back or they stay put. Now with the number 10 overall pick, we are going to go with the win now player. I'm not going to go offensive tackle like a lot of people have. There's been a lot of noise about Brock Bowers going in this spot, and I'm buying that noise. I wholeheartedly believe that if Brock Bowers were to be available at pick number 10 right here, this would be a steal for the New York Jets. You pair him with a healthy Aaron Rodgers. Let's get the most out of this Aaron Rodgers situation that we possibly can. At the end of the day, you're getting a versatile, dynamic tight end, one of the best tight end prospects that I've ever evaluated. Very similar to George Kittle, in my opinion. He needs to develop a little bit more as a blocker, but as a rookie, you just throw him out there. You can put him in the slot. You can put him in line, put him all over the formation, and let this guy make plays. Now, with the number 11 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings, they're going to get their quarterback of the future. They're going to go with Drake Maye out of North Carolina. Now, he is the quarterback that I predict will fall a little bit. I do believe JJ McCarthy is going to end up going ahead of Drake Maye. That's just my opinion. There are some people out there that believe that. There are some bigger names than myself out there that have been talking about that as well. I've been higher on JJ McCarthy, though, than just about anybody consensus out there. And I could see JJ McCarthy going number 2 overall in this particular draft. I already had him going number 3 in this mock draft to the New England Patriots, leaving Drake Maye in a bit of a free fall here. I do imagine a team will jump up in the draft to get Drake Maye. But if we're playing it where it lies with no trades, and this is the guy who falls, Drake Maye will be with the Minnesota Vikings in this particular spot, in my opinion, at pick number 11. Now with the number 12 overall pick in the NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos, they're going to go with edge rusher Leatu Latu out of UCLA. Now, a lot of people think Bo Nix would be a guy that they could go with here. I believe Michael Penix Jr. is also a guy that you could draft in this particular spot if you're the Denver Broncos. There's a lot of speculation out there, though. Hey, does Sean Payton really want the left-handed quarterback and have to move things around on offense and change that situation? I don't necessarily think that would be the case, even though I do believe Michael Penix is one of the top quarterbacks in this draft, and he's one of the 5 that are going to go in the first round, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to go with the best available player of need, and I think going edge rusher here, Leatu Latu out of UCLA, would be a huge pickup for Denver on the defensive side of the football. Now with the number 13 overall pick, I've got the Las Vegas Raiders taking Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. Now, if Denver hasn't already moved up to get Drake Maye or JJ McCarthy, or the Raiders, they're a candidate to actually trade up and potentially get a quarterback in this draft. Michael Penix Jr. falls into the perfect spot for the Las Vegas Raiders here, in my opinion. I think this is more of a consensus mindset that is out there, but at the end of the day, you're getting one of the most accurate deep ball throwers. He struggled against Michigan, obviously, in the national championship game, but Look at what he did against Texas in that interior pass rush. At the end of the day, he was sidestepping pressure if you go watch the film against Texas, and that is one of his strengths. He's a lot more mobile than a lot of people even understand. Everybody says, oh, he's just a pocket passer, but it is his ability to move laterally in the pocket, keeping his eyes down the field, that separates him, in my opinion, from a lot of other guys. I think he is the most NFL-ready quarterback in this particular draft class, outside of J.J. McCarthy, who was prepared more by NFL-style coaches in an NFL-style offense. Michael Penix Jr., he's just got a ton of experience, a ton of time at the quarterback position. I feel like you could plug him right in, pair him up with Davante Adams year one, and you've got Davante Adams, who I think is very similar to what Rome Odunze is stylistically. I think that would be a great way to start Michael Penix's career at the NFL level. With the number 14 overall pick, I've got the New Orleans Saints. They're going to go offensive tackle Talise Fuaga, one of the fast risers in this draft class since the start of the combine process. Going back to Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl, this is a guy who really showed out, a guy who has stood out. A lot of scouts have been raving about him, and it shows up on tape. He's an absolute mauler. He's a guy you can put pretty much anywhere on your offensive line. You can put him on the interior of the offensive line if you want. Put him at right tackle. You can put him at left tackle. That versatility will pay off for him, I think, at the end of the day. At pick 15, we've got the Indianapolis Colts. They're going to go with defensive back Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, a very versatile player. He adds special teams versatility, by the way. If you think of the new kickoff rules in the NFL and things of that nature, it's going to add that extra element that becomes more important now. There will be kick returns now in the NFL more consistently. This is a guy who also adds that type of versatility. And if you go watch his tape, and I just talked about this the other day, I was discussing how Cooper DeJean, with the football in his hands, is just so elite as a player. And he is a ball hawk. He's basically like a receiver on defense. He's running routes for guys, which shows that this guy has excellent football IQ and his ability to recognize what is happening in front of him. And he's not just a guy, in my opinion, that's going to be just a zone defender at the end of the day, even though that's fine. He can be a zone defender on defense. He could even drop into safety. He could play nickel. That's the versatile factor that I'm talking about with this guy, is you can move him around like a chess piece on defense. And I truly believe he will be an NFL corner at the end of the day. I don't see them moving him to safety and him just sitting back there and playing, deep middle field safety. He's just far too athletic, in my opinion, for that. Now, pick number 16, we have the Seattle Seahawks. They're going to go with an offensive tackle in J.C. Latham out of Alabama, another player who could play guard if you need him to. You can flip him to right tackle. He's got versatility in that way, and eventually you can kick him out to left tackle down the line as he develops. He's a guy who really picked up steam during the 2023 college football season down the stretch at the end of the year. And that's what you really want to see, especially from an offensive lineman, how good they are down the stretch of the season as the games get a little more difficult and the challenges become a little bit more difficult in terms of who you are blocking in front of you. That's J.C. Latham out of Alabama. I think it's a perfect match for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, with the number 17 overall pick, I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to take an elite wide receiver, one of the top receivers on my board, another guy that I believe provides a little bit of versatility at the position, could end up being that outside X receiver at the end of the day, but I think that you can move him around quite a bit into different areas of the field as needed, and that's Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. Now, this guy has what it takes to be an elite separator. You've seen him at the combine putting up elite numbers in the 40-yard dash for a player of his size at 6'4", 205, 210 pounds. This is a guy that can add a lot more functional weight to his frame as well down the stretch. I think he's physical enough and could get even more physical as he develops at the NFL level. He has the potential to become the best wide receiver in this particular draft class. All right, at pick number 18, the Cincinnati Bengals, they're going to go with an interior defensive lineman, one of the highest graded players actually in this draft class on my NFL Draft Big board. He graded out in the top 10 of all players in this draft class, by the way. And the Bengals at pick number 18 are going to take Byron Murphy, the interior defensive lineman out of Texas. He's an interior pass rusher. He's a run stuffer. He's a little bit undersized in that way. Actually, Texas would actually move him along the front. He would play a lot of one technique, even with Tavondre Sweat out there at 360 pounds. They'd move Murphy into the one technique over the center or in that range, right in the middle of the defense a little bit, even with T'Vondre Sweat still on the field. So he's got that versatility on the interior of the defensive line that you really want at this level. And the interior defensive lineman is growing in value at the NFL level. Getting interior pressure is super important. Cincinnati Bengals, they want to build a roster to beat the Kansas City Chiefs at the end of the day so that they can get to the Super Bowl and win one and get over that hump. I think having interior pass rush to get after a guy like Patrick Mahomes is exactly what you need. This is the kind of guy that you want to get that done for you at the end of the day. Now at pick number 19, I've got the LA Rams. They're going to go with edge rusher Chop Robinson out of Penn State. One of the most athletic edge rushers in this draft class, if not the most athletic edge rusher in this draft class. I think Dallas Turner is up there. Chop Robinson has the ceiling to surpass all of these guys, in my opinion. His ceiling grade is way up there on our draft board. This is a guy, though, that you can just unleash. He's more of that, wide nine kind of edge rusher at the end of the day. But he is a dude that's versatile enough. You can move him around your defensive front, try to find some mismatches, especially in third down and long situations. Maybe move him inside a little bit with a guard and try to get a mismatch in that way with speed. But he is a guy that needs a little bit more development as a pass rusher. But at the end of the day, I think it'd be a huge opportunity for the Rams to build on the defensive side of the football. Now, at pick number 20 overall, I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to take offensive tackle Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. I think this is a perfect fit. And I think that if you're going to continue to build this thing in Pittsburgh, whether it's going to be with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields down the line, I think building up this offensive line is one of the most important things that they need to do. It's something I've been talking about for the past few years. This is something that I want to see Pittsburgh do to get more physical up front. I think Olu Fashanu is a perfect fit. Even though he's a developmental guy, he is an excellent prospect with a high ceiling out there. He's an absolute freak of nature at the position. I think his upside could be something that elevates the Pittsburgh Steelers offense down the road, especially in the run game. Now, pick 21, I've got the Miami Dolphins, who in the past, I've had them taking wide receivers at this particular spot. I've had them taking Brian Thomas Jr. falling into this spot in the past, but in this particular spot, I think this is a great opportunity for the Dolphins to build their offensive line. They need interior offensive line help, and there's an excellent candidate out there with positional versatility, and that's something with this offensive line class that I love, is there's a ton of positional versatility out there. And so the Dolphins are going to go with Troy Fautanu out of Washington. He's an offensive tackle, but he can play guard to start things off, and I think he can be a plug-and-play kind of guy right out of the gate for the Miami Dolphins to start things off in 2024. Now, pick number 22, I've got the Philadelphia Eagles getting a steal. This is a guy that I've had going as high as number 9 overall to the Chicago Bears. I think I actually had him going to the Atlanta Falcons at one point at number 8 overall, and that is Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo, an excellent cover corner. He plays really well in off-man, in zone coverage. He can read things really, really well. Kind of gives you, the high IQ Cooper DeJean vibes in that way, but he's a physical guy as well. He's over 6 foot tall. He's over 200 pounds. He can get up there and get physical. He showed you that at the Senior Bowl in one-on-one situations. And he's also a guy that can mirror and match with receivers up and down the field. It's like he's running the route with the receiver. I absolutely love this guy. He's one of my favorite players. I pound the table for Quinyon Mitchell at the end of the day, and I think this would be an absolute steal for the Philadelphia Eagles at pick number 22. Now, with the number 23 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, we've got another corner going to the Minnesota Vikings. This is their second first-round pick. Now, they had Drake Maye fall into their lap at pick number 11. Now they're going to go after a corner. They need a corner in this draft. I think Nate Wiggins falling this far would be kind of a stretch, in my opinion. I think that there's potential that the Philadelphia Eagles could have taken Nate Wiggins ahead of Quinyon Mitchell. That's fine. You could mix and match either one of those guys, in my opinion. But the Vikings, they're going to take Nate Wiggins here at pick number 23, the corner out of Clemson. Very long defender, a versatile defender that you can move all over your defense. You can match him up with the best receiver on the field if you want to, or just leave him to the wide side of the field, let him kind of sit there and play, some zone coverage, read and react in that kind of way. But this guy, he's an excellent player. I think his upside at the end of the day, he could become the top corner in this particular draft class before it's all said and done. I've had him going as high as well as top 10 in this particular draft class. He is an excellent player. I think it would be a steal for the Minnesota Vikings at pick number 23. Now with the number 24 overall pick in the draft, we've got the Dallas Cowboys going with an interior offensive lineman, and they're going to go with Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. I think this is an excellent pickup for them. Once again, you're getting that positional versatility. You're getting a guy who can play center. You're getting a guy who can play guard. You can move him around the interior of your offensive line. I think this is a huge opportunity for the Cowboys to really build this thing up from the inside out. I know there's, some rumors and speculations about CeeDee Lamb potentially holding out till he gets a deal, and maybe the Cowboys need to add a receiver, but there's a lot of receiver depth in this draft. I think you go with the top interior lineman here, and then you pick up a receiver down the line, not to replace CeeDee Lamb. You're signing CeeDee Lamb to whatever kind of contract you need to before it's all said and done to get him out there on the field in 2024, but you can pick up another receiver to pair with him in the offense down the road. And the Cowboys also need a running back. So if you check out our mock draft 5.0, rounds 2 and 3, we'll kind of see where the Dallas Cowboys go from there in rounds 2 and 3 of the 2024 NFL draft. Now with the number 25 overall pick, I've got the Green Bay Packers. They're going to go with Kool-Aid McKinstry, the cornerback out of Alabama. This is a guy at his pro day, ran a 4.4 40, still a little injured, so there's potential that he's even faster than that. There's a lot of people out there that believe that Terrion Arnold is the better player than Kool-Aid McKinstry. Arnold is a 4.5 40 guy versus a Kool-Aid McKinstry with the length that he has and the physicality that he can play with at the end of the day. I'm absolutely taking Kool-Aid McKinstry over Terrion Arnold. At the end of the day, that's my opinion. But when all is said and done, I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is one of the top corners in this class. Obviously, I don't see him falling any further than this. I could actually see him going a lot higher than this on a lot of people's draft boards. I think he'd be an absolute steal for the Green Bay Packers at the cornerback position. Now, at pick number 26, I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to go with interior offensive lineman Graham Barton out of Duke. I think this is another excellent player on the interior of the offensive line in this NFL draft class. I moved him from my tackle rankings to the interior offensive line rankings recently when I was going back through and reviewing everything on Graham Barton. He can play center. He can play guard. He's played tackle throughout the entirety of his career at Duke. But at the end of the day, I think he's going to end up playing the guard position consistently, but having the versatility to kick him out to tackle if needed, if somebody gets hurt down the line, I think that's tremendous for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now at number 27 overall, we've got the Arizona Cardinals. It's their second first-round pick, and I've got them taking a corner in this particular spot, and it's going to be Terrion Arnold falling into their lap, the corner out of Alabama. I just talked about him when we were talking about Kool-Aid McKinstry. Now at pick number 28, I've got the Buffalo Bills going with a wide receiver here after moving on from Stephon Diggs. They traded Diggs to the Houston Texans. And with this pick, I think they are going to go with a wide receiver in this spot. And I'm going with Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, a really good route runner, a sure-handed catcher. He's very athletic at the wide receiver position. If you watch his Georgia tape before he transferred to Texas, he looked a lot more explosive when he was at Georgia than what he did at Texas. So at the end of the day, you're getting a guy who could potentially give you that George Pickens style of player at the wide receiver position, and maybe even a little bit more agile and technically sound than what George Pickens was coming into the NFL. All right, at pick number 29, we've got the Detroit Lions, and they're going to go a little unorthodox here. I'm not a big believer in drafting safeties in the first round, but in this particular spot, they're going to go with a true safety here, and it's going to be Tyler Nubin, the safety out of Minnesota, going to the Detroit Lions at pick number 29 overall. They need secondary help. Tyler Nubin is an absolute high IQ safety, a guy that you can move into the box or can play deep safety for you. He's got that kind of versatility where you can move him around. I love Tyler Nubin. He comes out of the Big Ten. He's a physical player. Pick number 30, we have the Baltimore Ravens. I have them going wide receiver in this spot. Why is that? We don't know what's going on with Zay Flowers, and we don't know if Rashad Bateman is really going to take that next step. So we're going to go with Xavier Legette, the wide receiver out of South Carolina. The physical after catch ability of this guy, very similar to stylistically to like an AJ Brown, for example, after the catch, a guy who can break tackles in the open field and make plays. He's also a guy who can go up and get it He's got the big frame for Lamar Jackson to kind of throw it up and let him go get it. Now, pick number 31 overall, we have the San Francisco 49ers. They can go a lot of different directions here, but I really believe that they should go with a wide receiver in this spot, especially if you think you're going to be moving away from Brandon Ayuk. That could happen before I even release this video. So we're going to go with a wide receiver here. We're going to go with Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver out of Georgia, the elite route running ability. Paired with Kyle Shanahan, the ability for Kyle Shanahan to scheme things up for somebody else in this offense is just completely insane. Now you've got George Kittle, Ladd McConkey out there, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Brock Purdy is just surrounded by elite talent. Now we are at the final pick here, pick 32, the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm going to go wide receiver Xavier Worthy out of Texas. You're getting that Tyreek Hill style field stretching wide receiver that you can line up all over the formation. By the way, you can line him up in the slot. You can line him up in that Z role, that flanker role, move him around your formation to get matchups, so to speak. He's not a physical player in terms of build like Tyreek Hill. He's not built like a running back like Tyreek Hill, but don't be fooled. This guy, if you watch his tape, he can break tackles. He's a very tough player in the open field once that football is in his hands. This is what you need in this Chiefs offense at the end of the day to open things up underneath even more for Patrick Mahomes. And I think it'll improve the versatility of the other receivers in this Kansas City Chiefs offense as well. All right, that's going to do it for Mock Draft 5.0. You can check out the rest of the picks in rounds 2 and 3 of my Mock Draft 5.0 on our website, footballscout365.com. Now, this has been an awesome journey. I want to thank everyone who has watched all of the videos throughout this process, throughout the years up to this point of the 2024 NFL Draft. Your support, I love it. Keep supporting us. Keep letting people know about us. Send people our way. We're going to keep this thing going. We're going to grow this thing as we move ahead into the 2025 NFL Draft. Again, please let me know what you think about this mock draft. This first round, I gave you all 32 picks this time. I know a lot of people complained in the past, hey, you're only doing 10 picks, and then I'm sending you over to the website to see the rest. But at the end of the day, I wanted to give you guys the full 32 for this final mock draft. And again, let me know in the comments section what you think. Again, I want to say thank you for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more great NFL Draft content.